What happens when a president's favorite TV network can't spin the truth anymore? Something wild happened live on television, and you could see the panic in their eyes. Fox News, usually Donald Trump's loudest cheerleader, was suddenly at a loss for words. The July jobs report had just dropped, and it was brutal. Only 73,000 new jobs created. Expectations were far higher. And then came the real gut punch. The government quietly revised previous month's data, erasing 258,000 jobs that were supposedly created in May and June. That's not a small adjustment. That's a massive blow. Right there on live TV, you could watch Fox anchors scrambling to respond. Some called the numbers fake. Others stumbled through half-finished sentences. Their talking points: the tariffs are working. The economy is booming. Trump is putting America first. Collapsed in real time. It was one of those rare moments where silence said more than words. The numbers no one could spin for weeks. Fox had been feeding viewers the same optimistic narrative. Tariffs were supposedly helping American workers. The trade war was painful but worth it. Trump's policies were restoring jobs. But when the Bureau of Labor Statistics released the actual numbers on air, those talking points evaporated. The forecast was 110,000 new jobs for July. Instead, the number came in 33.6% below expectations. A huge miss, but it got worse. The downward revisions for May and June meant the U.S. had 331,000 fewer jobs than originally reported. That's nearly half a year of solid job growth wiped away. On paper, the unemployment rate stayed at 4.2%. But under the surface, job creation had either flatlined or started reversing. The momentum that Trump's economic team kept boasting about was, in reality, vanishing. Why it matters job reports aren't just statistics. They're a national pulse check. They tell us whether businesses are hiring or holding back, whether families are earning, spending, and feeling secure. A strong report boosts confidence. A weak one can shake markets, freeze investment, and hit voters right in the pocketbook. That's why every administration, Republican or Democrat, works so hard to sell good numbers. Good reports help convince the public that policies are working, that the economy is on the right track, and that there's nothing to worry about. But this time, the numbers were too bad to spin. And they came with another problem for Trump. They hit at the heart of his America. First economic message. Fox News caught off guard when the numbers flashed on screen. Fox anchors froze. Maria Bartiromo and her panel were silent for several seconds, an eternity on live television. It was clear they hadn't prepared for a number this bad. Economist Steve Moore jumped in, blaming the shortfall on tariff turbulence, but even he sounded unconvinced. They tried to throw out the unemployment rate as a bright spot, but that number didn't match what viewers were seeing in their own lives. Layoffs, reduced hours, and hiring freezes spreading across industries. This wasn't a messaging problem. It was a reality problem. The Trump response, fire the messenger Trump, didn't take the bad news quietly. Instead of acknowledging the slowdown, he lashed out at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, like a player flipping the game board after losing. Within hours, he fired BLS Commissioner McIntyre, accusing her of rigging the report to make him look bad. McIntyre was a career official who had served under both Republican and Democratic administrations, known for professionalism and independence. That didn't matter. The data was inconvenient, so the messenger had to go. Trump then took to X, formerly Twitter, with a furious rant, accusing the Bureau of sabotage. His labor secretary, Lori Chavez-Dermer, piled on, hinting that the data release was botched. This wasn't just political theater. It raised serious concerns about whether economic data could now be manipulated to serve political needs. The danger of undermining the numbers These job reports aren't just for economists and journalists. They're the foundation for decisions made by businesses, investors, and workers across the country. When a president attacks the credibility of those numbers and fires the officials producing them, trust in the system starts to collapse. If the public starts to believe the data is fake, or worse, if the White House begins tailoring numbers to fit a political narrative, the consequences go far beyond one bad month. It undermines the entire basis for economic decision-making. The tariff reality check. The deeper problem is that Trump's economic strategy is showing its cracks. The core idea was simple: slap tariffs on other countries, pressure them to play fair, and bring manufacturing jobs back to America. But in practice, the tariffs act like a hidden tax, and American businesses are paying it. They still need parts, electronics, food, and machinery from abroad. Now they're paying more for all of it. And those costs, it pass straight to consumers. Prices rise across the board: cars, groceries, clothes, even medicine. The ripple effect across America. In Michigan and Ohio, auto plants are slowing down production because imported parts cost more. In Iowa and Nebraska, farmers are facing financial disaster after China retaliated by cutting off U.S. crop purchases. Some farms are on the brink of bankruptcy. Others are sitting on piles of unsold grain. Supporters of the tariffs point to earlier strong numbers as proof they're working. But much of that growth came from businesses rushing to buy goods before prices went up, or from short-term government bailouts like emergency farm aid. That's not sustainable growth. It's buying timed out now. The slowdown is unmistakable. Shipping companies report falling demand. Big retailers are quietly hiking prices. Factories in Indiana and Illinois are laying off workers. Wages aren't keeping pace with inflation. Even Texas and California, economic powerhouses, are showing cracks in trade, port traffic, and manufacturing. Global supply chains move on. Other countries aren't waiting for America to get its act together. Brazil, India, and Vietnam are stepping in to replace U.S. suppliers in global markets. Once those supply chains shift, they rarely come back. And here's the hardest truth: this is only the first wave. The real pain from these tariffs hasn't even fully landed yet. More layoffs are coming. Prices will keep rising. Consumer demand will weaken. When it all hits, it won't be a small dip. It'll be a storm. The manufacturing mirage Trump's team keeps pointing to momentum and investment as signs the strategy is working. But businesses don't invest in uncertainty, right? Now they're facing rising costs, unstable trade relationships, and weaker demand. The result? Hiring freezes, canceled expansion plans, and more layoffs. Even some of Trump's staunchest allies in policy and media circles are starting to go quiet because defending these numbers is getting harder by the day. The Supreme Court steps in and clears the way. Just as the July jobs report landed, another major development hit. The Supreme Court ruled that Trump's reduction in force, RAFE plans for federal agencies, could move forward even while lawsuits challenging them are still pending. That means the administration now has the green light to start cutting thousands of federal jobs immediately. And here's the kicker: by the time the courts issue a final ruling, the damage could already be done. Agencies gutted, staff gone, institutional knowledge erased. This isn't just about job loss. It's about hollowing out the very infrastructure that keeps essential services running. The union fight back. Not everyone is standing by. The American Federation of Government Employees, AFGE, backed by the AFL-CIO, is fighting back in court and in public. They've launched a national union bus tour, traveling the country to rally workers and spotlight the stakes. Union leaders are calling out what they see as political hypocrisy, like Speaker Mike Johnson blasting federal workers for being inefficient while heading off for recess. For many public servants, the attacks aren't just political, they're personal. These are people who show up every day to keep the government functioning, now watching their jobs disappear for the sake of a political slogan. The bigger picture, so here's where we are. Job growth is slowing sharply. Manufacturing is shrinking. Federal jobs are on the chopping block. The president is undermining the integrity of economic data. All eyes in the media can no longer hide the cracks. This isn't just one bad report, it's a turning point. The illusion of unstoppable. Economic momentum is breaking. The tariffs aren't delivering the promised manufacturing boom. And instead of adjusting policy, the White House is blaming the numbers, firing officials, and doubling down. The unanswered question, if this is what winning looks like: rising prices, shrinking payrolls, gutted agencies, and a shrinking place in global trade, then what does losing look like? Because at this point, it's not just about spin. It's about whether the country's economic foundation can withstand a strategy built on confrontation, denial, and short-term political. Wins doubt, and with each passing month, the answer is getting harder to ignore.